Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here are some words that I personally need to put right up on my wall in front of me. Worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. Amen. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. And don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, get rid of your garbage. Call them at 734-6969. And right now, here is a lady that needs to be sponsored by a gas filling station.
Okay, so here's the skinny. Okay, coming to work. I spent the night in Twin last night at my boyfriend's. Coming into work today. I left with plenty of time, thankfully, and just get past the Valley Eden Road, and my car runs out of gas. And so frantically trying to call anybody and everybody that would pick up the phone, and finally Scotty and Chris answered, and I'm like, help me! And so Chris came with the gas can and bailed me out, and so I'm here.
No, I think that is really good. It's nice to have somebody to call in the event that you're... There is nothing. I don't think there's anything that's worse than that feeling of total insecurity and being unable to help yourself when you're broke down on the interstate without gas, or something goes wrong with your engine or whatever.
I know. Well, see, I called my boyfriend, and he had apparently gone back to sleep, so he didn't hear my frantic phone calls. I'm like, okay, who am I going to call? Because if I call my brother, I know that we don't have enough gas in the gas can, and so I'm calling Scotty and Chris because I know that there's a gas can in the back of the gas.
I can just hear poor James. He said, well, listen, man, I didn't hear the phone, and you're telling him, you start listening early in the morning.
I really couldn't blame him, and I'm like, don't worry about it, babe. I got everything handled. I know he felt really bad about it because he was the closest one, but thankfully, Chris came and rescued me. And so I was actually able to make it here with 10 minutes to spare and get everything ready.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've done the same thing. So,
boy, howdy.
Oh, man, your day's starting off a lot worse than mine, I'll tell you that. Well, wait a minute. That's subject to...
that's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah, because here we have Al.
We've got Al on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the vote.
Very good. Al, go ahead, please. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, gas tank reads empty, half, and full. Pay attention to it, girls.
All right, well, she did, but...
I'm in trouble.
All right, go ahead with the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless you, my dear friend Al. Thank you for calling in, my friend. Thanks.
Have a good one.
You bet. Thank you. Time for the weather. And the weather is brought to you by some really, really nice folks. And that, of course, is Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. That's right. They handle everything from your hardwood laminates, your vinyl sheeting, carpet, cabinets, natural stone, Oakley stone, do all the countertops, tops. Wow. Kyle and Whitney Cheney of Declo, I'm telling you, they've lived here, they know you, and believe me, they can meet or beat any price on flooring. And they give you free in-house consultation, too. 678-6945, Cheney Flooring and Home Design. You call them today. Right now, here's the weather with Michael Rogers.
You know, when you run out of gas in south central Idaho in the summertime and the temperature is 62 degrees, really isn't that bad. It's nice and warm. Now, if you were up here in Denali National Park where I'm at, it's 44 degrees, and if you run out of gas, it's pretty chilly up here. That being said, good morning. Start of a brand spanking new week of you, me, cloudy, hot, with a chance of rain and thunderstorms on Wednesday, but that's your weather pattern for this week right now. Cloudy and hot, just slight chance of rain for tomorrow, possibly a thunderstorm, but Wednesday you're going to get nailed. And you got rain in your forecast, and you also got thunderstorms for that. But otherwise, temperatures are still going to be in the 90s, and your overnight lows are going to be in the upper 60s. So, once again, if you run out of gas in south central Idaho in the summertime, take heed. It is warm outside. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
That is Michael Rogers Weather. I appreciate that. MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945. Look for their blue door. Nice, nice people. Well, we got a lot of things to talk about this morning, and a quick reminder that on Wednesday night, Jerome County Fair Team Roping, Dave Zanino is the stock contractor for that, and it starts at 6:30 with registration. Rope at 7. Jerome County Fairgrounds, don't miss it. Hey, Daryl's Cleaners, now, what a nice idea to give somebody a gift card to go get their clothes clean, maybe to help with their drapes, tablecloths, whatever. You know, everything will come back looking brand spanking new. I guarantee it. You better check it out today. These are the best people anywhere. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin, Cindy, the whole crew at Daryl's Cleaners, serving you. Don't forget, too, SafeLink Internet Services. They've got a special going on for the summer, and get 3 for free. Summer special. Free router, free 30-day risk trial, free installation. Price is starting at just $19.95, and it ends at the end of this month on Thursday, the 31st. You better call them today at SafeLink Internet. Yes, right now, 677-8000. Tell them Zeb sent you. 677-8000. SafeLink Internet Services. We're really tickled we're on their program over here at Zeb at the Ranch. Absolutely. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Got some things. First of all, this last weekend, Deanna and I were up in Nampa, and I announced the Extreme Mustang Makeover at the Ford Center. That was really, really interesting and well done, and kudos to those folks that put it on. And these guys and gals that had these Mustangs, they only had 100 days, just a tad over 3 months, to get the horses, train the horses, bond with the horses, and perform with these horses, and try to win the $10,000 in prize money. And I was so totally impressed with some of the training and some of the horses, and there were some really, really outstanding horses there, and the training was amazing. I mean, these were wild animals, wild horses, running on the desert, free, and all of a sudden, they're taken into a holding corral, put up for these adoptions, for these trainers to work with that have this Extreme Mustang Makeover, and what they did was just unbelievable, and my hat's off to the trainers and the winners. Good job. Hey, Ramsey Heating and Electric. And they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Oh, another week, 93, 94, 96, 94, whatever. It's warm, and you need your air filter in the air conditioning unit to be clean. If it's not, you're in trouble. Dirty air conditioning filter will only cause you trouble and not keep you cool. So check it out today. They've got all the air filters for your air conditioning right there, Ramsey Heating and Electric. And don't forget, they've they've got your light bulbs, and they've got your fuses, a rubber cord. They got everything electrical for you at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Oh, one other quick note I've got to get into here this morning. I want to remind everybody that I understand there were some people that thought Lunch Bunch was last weekend, and I apologize, it was not. It's going to be this coming Thursday, the 31st, and Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and we're going to be over there on Thursday at 11:30 for Zeb's Lunch Bunch for the month of July. Please be there. Want you there. Need you there. We're going to have door prizes. We're going to have great food. Wow, that menu is unbelievable. I'm going to go in and order and see if they won't let me have some of those pancake poppers. Oh man, they're good. And they've got special menu items and prices for the AARP seniors. Check it out at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we will be over there on Thursday. Okay? You know, there is a movement in this country, and you've seen it, and you've heard it, that if you don't adhere to the liberal left's way of thinking, they are going to come after you. They are going to demonize you. They are going to try to do everything they can to change your mindset or put you into obscurity. And it's happening with the gay and lesbian and transgender issue in this country. Front page of the USA Today sports page the other day, here's what it said, and I want your response on this, because they absolutely demeaned one of the nicest, one of the most Christian men in the United States today, and also one of the greatest coaches that ever coached in the NFL, Tony Dungy. And here's the headline: Intolerance lingers as NFL problem. Subheadline: Dungy latest to show league is out of step. Now, you know what he said? Nothing more serious than saying that he would not have taken and tried to enlist the services of homosexual Michael Sam. He would not have tried to draft him if he were the coach and he were the man in charge. That's all he said. I wouldn't have taken him, he said. It's not going to be totally smooth. Things will happen. He did not want to get involved in that situation. And the liberal left has come after him. And they're going after him as someone that needs to be stifled, someone that needs to be cast down a shallow well, someone that needs to be changed with their way of thinking. What are your thoughts on this? Why? Why, when we as Christians don't believe in that perverted lifestyle, why are we allowing the liberal left, which is a very small percentage of our population? You know, here a week ago on the show, I had facts and figures that showed that the homosexual and gay, lesbian, and transgender part of our society is almost less than 2%. And so the rest of us at 98% or whatever the majority percentages is, we're just sitting back and not doing anything and being dictated to by these people. And you, the public, have got to speak out. This demonization of good people, and Tony Dungy is a good person. Not only an excellent football coach, excellent Christian, excellent family man, that's gone through a lot of hardship with the loss of his son, etc. But this is absolutely ridiculous, and we need to speak out. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Well, the whole problem is the liberal left and the socialists and so forth, they're doing everything they can to destroy the moral fabric, the family. That was part of Stalin, and that's part of Marxism in general, is to destroy the family unit. And what better way than to support, the gay, lesbian agenda? And so their intolerance to anything, any issue, whether it's this one or other issues, they always say, well, you have to compromise. They don't compromise on anything, and I'm so glad to see Israel not compromising their freedom for John Kerry's so-called peace deal.
Yeah, but wait.
They have total intolerance towards us that want to keep this country free and independent and the family unit strong.
I agree with you. Everything you said, I put right up on the plaque on the wall. But, here is a person, and I want to stay on this subject for a few moments. Here is a person that is almost impeccable with his attitude and almost impeccable, and a person that you can look up to, you can have your kids look up to. Tony Dungy. I've read every one of his books. I've talked to the man. I find him just an absolutely great man. The players that played for him when he was the head of the Indianapolis Colts absolutely thought he was outstanding, and the same can be said when he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We need more people like him, not less. Adrian, the demonization of these people by less than 2% of our American society is absolutely sickening.
It is, but this attack is on Christianity in general, our Judeo-Christian thing. So anybody that comes out against, this deviant lifestyle and so forth, and we know what happens with the AIDS thing. I mean, the AIDS is still going on, and so that's all totally covered up. But those of us that want to live in a free America, in the tradition of our founding fathers, who were Christians, by the way, and we're not deists as the media portrays them. It's just an attack on our culture, and that's one of the ways that communism and socialism destroys a nation from within.
Well, and this Christine Brennan that wrote this article, I'm going to personally send her a letter of condemnation for this article, because she says things in the article that are considered now unacceptable to our entire country, on the wrong side of history, blatantly racist. I mean, this has nothing to do with race. This has nothing to do with her sick comparison of the blacks gaining civil rights back in the 60s. Adrian, this is about a perverted sex life, and how in the world can they compare that to a race? I'd like to know. Please explain that to me.
Well, there is no explanation. Everything that happens that they disagree with is they played a race card. And even there's no tie together, obviously, to us, but, they play it out, and for the less informed people out there, they say, yeah, it must be racist, I guess, because they're against this lifestyle.
Well, I appreciate your calling in, and we need more people to speak up, because I'll tell you something, as I said, 98% of us are at fault for not speaking out against this demonization of the liberal left and what they're trying to do to subvert a clean, healthy, wholesome society.
Well, absolutely. Like I said, that's part of the agenda, is to destroy the moral fabric, and get our youth, and especially our men, to become effeminate and so forth. I mean, it's right. If you read their communist playbook, it's part of that. And so, Rules for Radical by Alinsky, it basically follows along that same note, and he was a card-carrying communist. He admitted it.
I agree.
And so this is their agenda.
All right, Adrian.
Anyway, I hope people will still watch America, the movie. This will probably be the last week. It's at the mall cinema. So anyway, come to see that, because it's got some really good points to it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, have a great day.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely well stated. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This really upsets me, because Tony Dungy, in my opinion, is the epitome of a class act. And to be dragged through the mud like this by Christine Brennan of USA Today, and just absolutely screaming at him that he's intolerant, that's totally false and phony. And I am offended by this article. Don't forget our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, oh my, you better remember that they've got a great shop there. They've got full-time certified mechanics, and they specialize in Honda, Steel, Tanaka, Bobcat, Walker. They've got it all, including the Doosan loaders. And boy, I'll tell you what, they've got the equipment for sale and or rent. 3 locations: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, Highway 30 in Burley, at 159 West Highway 30, and South Lincoln in Jerome. I'm telling you, they're there to serve you. They've got the tillers and the mowers and all the other lawn and garden stuff. They got the man lifts, the skid steers. They've got it all at Berry Equipment and Rental, serving you in Twin Falls, Jerome, and the new location on Highway 30 in Burley. Really good folks. Hey, by the way, every week, caller, I'll be right there, don't go away. Every week, Sophie's Chatterbox is delivering, of course, cinnamon rolls to some of our great advertisers right here on the program. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square. Cinnamon rolls, cookie bars, homemade bread, wedding cakes, if you're so inclined to just take the big step. Well, I'll tell you what, they also have breakfast, lunch, or supper. Open Monday through Friday, 6 to 6, Saturdays, 6 to 2. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Too many people are asleep. People you talk to have this attitude, it can't happen here attitude. And we're getting bombed out because of that. We're losing the country because people don't realize what's really happening around the country. And it's a good thing we've got programs like yours going on.
Well, I appreciate that, Tony, but I'm not going to weaken. You should see some of the threats that we get and some of the emails and some of the calls, and I am not going to kowtow to less than 2% of this population. I wouldn't kowtow to the percent of the population if it was 25, 30, or 35%. I think what's right is right, wrong is wrong, and what's decent is decent, and I'm not going to change my attitude on the way I was born and raised and the way that my parents taught me about life and morality, etc. I'm not going to change. And I'm not going to be demonized by a liberal left that absolutely wants to rewrite the rules.
Well, we just have to keep hammering away. Maybe one of these days people will wake up and they'll find out that if they don't open their eyes up, baby, this country's finished.
I agree with you. Tony, thank you so much for your call. I always appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you. Hey, the Cassia County Fair merchants are coming on the program to tell you to support the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo August 11th through the 16th. People like AMI, 1719 Overland and Burley. Yep, look for the big 28-foot wrench on the door and go nuts over their bolts. They're the meat and potatoes, nothing fancy. AMI. Good folks. Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul, and the new location on Kimberly Road, north of Kimberly, by Red Cap Corner. You better believe it, Butte Irrigation, a major hub for agriculture irrigation parts and equipment that'll get you wet. And Burley Veterinary Hospital, great folks, 2869 Overland and Burley. Quality patient care and client satisfaction. Doctors Wally Ward and Scott Morley serving you on large and small animals. Burley Veterinary Hospital. All of them urge you to go to the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, August 11th through the 16th. Going to be a lot of fun. All right, give me a call, but right now we're going to quickly listen to our friends at the Capital Press Ag Minute. Give us a call, 436-2244.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
With record high prices, folks up and down the beef supply chain don't have much to complain about, but many question how long markets can sustain such lofty prices. Prices are being driven by tight supplies, herd rebuilding efforts, and strong demand. But many are asking how long that demand will last at unprecedented prices. John Malvac, a consultant with the red meat industry, says everybody's making money, but as prices continue to go high, worry increases that the bubble is going to burst. While cow-calf operators on the front end should remain profitable, feedlots have tighter margins and are more susceptible to rising prices. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West's Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Oh, thank you very much, Capital Press. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Tony Dungy is kind of the subject of my conversation here this morning. Former great coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former great player too, by the way, and also the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and he's being absolutely demonized by the press because he had said that he would not have drafted openly gay player Michael Sam. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him that it would have opened up a Pandora's box of problems and headaches and potential lawsuits, etc. And why can't he speak out? Tony Dungy is, like I said a few moments ago, one of the most respected men in professional football. When people have problems, they turn to Tony Dungy. When people have kind of a relationship problem, they turn to Tony Dungy. He's that kind of a guy. And one of the most respected ever football coaches in the history of the NFL. And now the left, the pro-gay, lesbian, and transgender society is coming down on him, and especially with this article written by Christine Brennan in USA Today. And one of her quotes and sub-headlines was, "The people who represent the league to millions are making it look stodgy, out of touch, and downright discriminatory." I find that totally offensive, and I'm standing up for Tony Dungy. Absolutely a great, great man. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Fair time. It's not right around the corner. It's here. And whatever you need, just run right into Valley White Home and Ranch. I mean, maybe you got all the way to the fair and you forgot the brushes, or maybe you forgot the feed, or maybe you forgot some buckets, or maybe whatever you forgot. Maybe you forgot some new clothes for yourself, or maybe a new pair of boots. Whatever you have in need, they have it for you over at Valley White Home and Ranch. And don't forget, they got all your dog and kitty cat food. They got all the Gallagher fencing. And if you want to just get away from everything, they've got all the fishing equipment too. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see those good folks today. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I've been there where he is and had these people, the liberal left, come down on me and try their best to throw us completely into the ditch. And I'm glad to see that Tony Dungy is handling this with class. He's not going to weaken. He's not going to weaken, and I respect that. But to people like this op-ed page writer, Christine Brennan of USA Today, I find it shameful the way they treated an excellent man for what he's done for not only football, but also people in general. He has come to the aid of many, many people, like Michael Vick, Tim Tebow, and others, when the public was down on them and causing all kinds of problems. And Michael Vick's self-inflicted problems with what he did with the dogfighting and everything. And he actually went to prison on numerous occasions and visited with Michael Vick and helped him change his life for the better. How dare they come down on Tony Dungy? Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't weaken on this, folks. Give me a call. I'd like to hear from you, please. Hey, Snyder Surplus isn't just army and hunting supplies. They've got something for everybody, like office chairs from $5 to $15. Are you kidding me? And they're going to move them out. Move them out. Head them up. Here they go. And they got a new shipment coming in soon. And they've got boxes of food together. Cost only $10 in the box. It'll be 3 boxes of cereal, marshmallows, chocolate bars, mayonnaise, flavored ice crystals that you add water to. I'm telling you, these are great, great preservation type kits. You check it out at Snyder's Surplus, just south of the Rupert Elks. Great, great store. Brand new store, 112 South, 200 West of Rupert. And all new merchandise-friendly service at Snyder's Surplus. Serving you. Really good people. All right, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What's happened to Benghazi? Nothing. It's just gone. What's happened to a lot of the other information on the scandals through this administration? Nothing. They've just disappeared. And what happened to Bo Bergdahl? Nothing. Just kind of went off the radar. It was really interesting this past weekend on Friday. We were up at Napa, turned on the news, and I was not watching Fox News. I was watching CNN. And just to see what was going on over there. And they had a gentleman on there, and he basically asked the same question. What and why is Bo Bergdahl not in the news anymore? What happened to our right to know all the facts and the information? Really, what's going on? Why is this all of a sudden hushed up? This administration, in my humble opinion, is the greatest administration ever in the history of the United States to cover things up and create another scandal to cover up the previous one. And they use these scandals to their advantage to basically put the other ones out in left field in the cheap seats to the point where you can't find them anymore. You can't find out any information. It's gone. And this is what's happening right now. We don't know because we're not allowed to find out because the news media is running helter-skelter, going this way, that way, and they're being led by the nose by the Obama administration into only checking things that this administration wants. I dare you to prove me wrong. This is a real scary situation. And I'm very, very concerned going into the 2014 elections in November as to what this administration is going to continually keep trying like a cat in a sandbox to cover up. And I'd like your thoughts on this. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Tragic story. If you really are worried about the killer. But you've probably been hearing about what they call, quote-unquote, a botched, basically deathbed ceremony, if you will, in prison to get rid of a heinous killer. And evidently the drugs did not work according to the way they were supposed to. And they said that the inmate lingered for over 2 hours. You know what? Who really cares? I know that sounds cold and calloused. But this man that they had given the death execution to, a convicted murderer of a father and a daughter, why should we care whether he was, and they said he went to sleep, he was snoring, and they were saying that the drug did not kill him like it should have in a certain time. Most of the witnesses said the man was snoring until finally the drugs did kick in and took his life. But there is more animus against us purporting to support the death penalty than there is for the guy that actually took the lives of the father and daughter. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Well, there's one way they can solve that. Get off this goody-good-shoes crap and go back to the good old firing squad.
Al, you're so right. Either that or hanging. And
I'd rather see the bullet.
Well, you know, I don't care. Well, let me just ask you this. Do you really care if this murderer that walked into a garage and murdered a father and a daughter, do you really care how or if he suffered? I don't.
No. But like I say, you line up 6 riflemen. They don't need to know which 2 has the bullet.
Right.
And they make sure they put it on that target on his heart. 2 shots, all the shots ring out at the same time. They don't know who did it, but it's quick and it's fast.
I just am absolutely appalled that in this nation right now, we're more worried about the perpetrators' rights than we are the victims. And I sat and watched with sadness, and I know you had to watch this the other day, as one of the family members was on television talking about this and said, nobody brought up anything about how my father and my sister suffered, but they were more concerned about the rights of the convicted killer. And really, Al, that's what's happening in this country.
I know it, and I tell you what, these people that are so goody-good-shoes, it's too damn bad the way you feel towards the so-called protect the guilty. He's a killer. He suffered. Tough. What about the people that he killed? They suffered.
Amen.
So you should take your goody-good shoes and shove it, because I'm sick and tired of listening to you gripe about it, and you want to go back and protect the crook.
There seems to, of course, now, it's not just protecting the crook. You know the ultimate goal is to do away with the death penalty. They just want to have all these people go to prison at a average price of about $55,000 a year to the American taxpayer and linger on forever and ever. And I think there's got to be, give them one appeal. Give them one appeal, and after that first appeal, with overwhelming evidence that they are the guilty party, that's it. It's all over. Do you agree?
That's the way it used to be and the way it should be, because a price of a bullet's, what, $2.40? That'd sure save a lot of time and money, wouldn't it?
Well, I absolutely am appalled, and I mean that, when I see family members on any television being interviewed, and the national opinion is in favor of these heinous killers, and nobody is concerned about justice going to the family.
I know. I just can't figure out why this media is being taught the way they are by the liberal left, because it didn't used to be that way. Everybody had a free shot at the press.
Yeah.
Everybody had a free, truthfulness to what was going on. But not nowadays. If you're a crook, a dictator, and stuff like that, you get off scot-free. But if you're a good, loving guy like Tony Dungy, man, you're ridiculed to heaven's high hell, and it's not right.
Isn't that, I'm glad you called on this, Al, because you know Tony Dungy and his track record and what he has done for everybody to help various people in and out of sports. I find it just absolutely sickening what the liberal left is trying to do to this man.
I know it, but yet you look what's going on in their party about the crap that's coming out of it, and not a thing is done about it.
I agree. Al, always appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Sugar beet growers, may I have your attention, please? Introducing Preaxor from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for your sugar beets to help fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content for your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound, xenium, that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. As I said, with the application of BASF's Preaxor 45 to 60 days prior to harvest, you have the potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. Hey, you better contact your local ag chem supplier today, or call my buddy Ron Ellis at BASF 431-6776 or Tim Perry at 844-0682. BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like your thoughts on these topics that we've discussed this morning. And I'm going to throw this in real quick before we go to the weather. I say kudos to Governor Butch Otter, as he said, basically, the headline in the paper was, "Don't send migrant kids to Idaho." Now, I think the headline is a little, these aren't migrant workers. These aren't migrant kids. These are illegal alien children coming in from South America. Idaho governor sends letter to federal officials telling them not to send any of the unaccompanied young migrants, young illegal aliens at the U.S.-Mexico border to Idaho. And I salute Butch. I really do, for saying and standing up for us in the state of Idaho. But then I don't salute his Democratic challenger, A.J. Balikoff, or however they say that name. I'll call it Balikoff. As this Democrat and his party have said that it's nothing more than an election year ploy. Listen to what the Democrats and Balikoff said. We frankly think it's not appropriate. Not appropriate? He's the governor of the state of Idaho. Not appropriate for Governor Otter to weigh in on this national crisis that has nothing to do with his office at this time, just to score political points. Already this A.J. Balikoff, if he wants to come on this program and debate with me whether or not it's appropriate for the governor to protect the citizens of Idaho, you have to be completely out in left field to think it is not. And then it goes on, and Balikoff's campaign spokesman, Mike Lanza, said, A.J. feels that Governor Otter is trying desperately to talk about anything except his own record on education and jobs in Idaho. Please, it absolutely is imperative that Butch speak out on this right now. I personally salute to him and give him kudos for standing up and saying, no, don't come to Idaho and don't try to impose us with the costs of these kids. And for the Democrats and his challenger, A.J. Balikoff, to come out and say it's nothing more than an election year ploy, that's asinine and, quite frankly, stupid. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Time for the weather, brought to you by Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. Working hard to provide great service to all the communities of Magic Valley. Call Gentle Ben and Leslie at Burley Glass and get a free bid on your windows today. 678-1459. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hi everyone, Michael Rogers from Zip of the Ranch. Welcome to a brand spanking new week of you, me, cloudy, and hot weather. Yeah, you're getting set up for rain, but it's not going to be for today. It's going to be cloudy and hot, 92 with a high 68 for the overnight low. Slight chance of rain for tomorrow and tomorrow night. Wednesday, you're going to get some rain. You're also going to possibly get some thunderstorms out of this also. But otherwise, still summertime to Magic Valley. No major watches or warnings. Just typical summertime thunderstorms in July going into August. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather, it's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. Yes, sirree. Windows with Gentle Ben and the crew. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, when I listen to this verbiage from the liberal left here in the state of Idaho, and especially Democratic challenger A.J. Balikoff and his staff saying that it's not appropriate for Governor Otter to weigh in on this, of course it is. What about the states of Connecticut, Massachusetts, Texas, Arizona, other states? They've weighed in on it. Why shouldn't our governor? Absolutely. He's doing his job. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You realize, and most people out there probably don't realize, it's not just our federal officials that take an oath of office to uphold the U.S. Constitution, but it's our state people, including the governor, do. And part of that oath is to protect us, from, invasion and to protect us, our life from, any kind of danger and so forth, protect us. And obviously these kids are bringing in all kinds of exotic diseases we don't know. So I think the governor is right on line to do what he's doing, and he should be commended for it rather than, but it shows you the mentality of the Democrats in general, I think.
Yeah, but Adrian, real quick, short time, because I'm almost out of time. Had he not said anything and had the college, and I'm not saying they are, because I did call the refugee center, and they said they had, quote, no plans for anything like that. But let's say that they did start bringing him in. Then can you imagine the outcry against the governor for not forewarning anybody?
That's right. Well, in fact, he's doing his duty to protect us. And that's what he has taken an oath to. Obviously, his challenger that oath doesn't mean much, obviously.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I tell you what, I am going to get a hold of his campaign spokesman, this Mike Lanza of A.J. Balikoff, and I hope I'm saying it right. If I'm not, I'll stand corrected. And I'm just going to let him know that absolutely my listeners, my program, and myself are totally in favor of what Governor Bush Otter did, and I just want to hear their response. I'll try to get them on the air for tomorrow morning.
Well, I hope that'll work out, so that, they just spout off of the mouth, and everything to them is political, and so if anybody makes a correct statement, then they say, well, it's just to get political points. Oh, get off of it. It's just totally ridiculous.
I agree with you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Adrian. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good...
All right. I'd like your thoughts on this. I'm glad the governor spoke out. I'm glad that he said no. And here's some of the things he said. It should be understood that the state of Idaho and its subdivisions will not be actively involved in addressing the humanitarian crisis the federal government has created. Idaho will not open itself to the unwelcome challenges which other states have struggled at the federal government's hands. Thank you, Governor Bush Otter. Appreciate that. Don't forget the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, August 5th through the 9th at the Jerome County Fairgrounds, and I'm telling you, they've got so much planned. They've got a great big rodeo planned. They've got great big parades planned. They've got real fast lawnmower races planned. I mean, they've got everything that's going to be a lot of fun, including all kinds of Go Hog Wild pig wrestling contests. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Everybody's going to have fun at the Jerome County Fair. They host over 30,000 people every year going to the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo in Jerome County, August 5th through the 9th. You be there. That's where the fun's going to be. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are your thoughts on this? And as far as if the Democrats are listening out there this morning, and I'll put this out in the form of a challenge, if you'd like to come on this program and debate whether or not our governor was right or wrong in coming out with that letter, you're welcome to give me a call at 436-2244 or my cell phone and leave a message, and I'll arrange for you to come on the air at 312-2976. I wonder how many calls I'll get. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good morning, Zeb. This guy that's running for Democratic governor, he is so transparent. I mean, he really is transparent, because you can see right through him. By bringing these illegals in here, they most likely will become Democrats.
Absolutely. But
therefore, they'll further the cause of the party.
Absolutely. Anywhere across the United States. I totally agree with you. But the one thing that really upsets me, Keith, and I want you to respond to this, is when Balikoff says, we frankly think it's not appropriate for Governor Otter to weigh in on this national crisis that has nothing to do with his office at this time. It has everything to do with our governor letting people know, no, you will not come to Idaho. No, we will not accept illegal aliens. No, we will not put the burden on Idaho's taxpayers. I think Balikoff should be absolutely held to the fire for these basically stupid remarks.
Well, he needs to read the rule book on what governorship is. I don't think he has any idea. What, is he just supposed to get there so he can live in the mansion? No. He's supposed to lead us. And he is not going to do that by all these illegal aliens that we cannot afford. And I mean afford, because most of this burden will be put on the states.
Keith, I agree with you. My wife isn't here this morning, and I had a call coming into my studio, and I had to just tell him to call me back a little bit later on this morning. I totally agree with you. I think these comments by A.J. Balikoff, Democratic challenger for the governorship, I think these comments are going to come back to haunt him, and I think he's going to be sorry that and I'm going to save this story, and I'm going to save these comments to see how much backpedaling he does on this.
We've got to especially defeat him in southern Idaho. We're basically Republican except Blaine County, which a lot of people there have money and they are probably willing to contribute to this man, but we need to hang on because Butch could have a heavy challenger there.
Yeah, I don't know. With the comments like this, I'm not saying I'm not going to worry, but I'm just going to say, hey, listen, this was ridiculous. Keith, I got another call. Always appreciate yours. Thank you, sir. God bless. Caller number 2. I've only got 2 minutes, so you're going to have to make this fast because I've got a commercial before we go to the news. So go real fast. Go.
Very quick, Zeb. Kudos to Governor Butch Otter doing the job he was hired to do. And these other people are so used to the people being elected going to the public trough and doing the opposite, and he's defended us on the migration and the water deal that he has spoken out on, that the feds. He came right out and said they're trying to steal our water.
That's right.
He's not going to put up with it. That's our governor.
That's right.
And that's what he's paid to do. And he used to be a congressman. He knows how that government works.
I agree with you.
So kudos to him. And also, you will never find, you just won't find, Tony Dungy is the epitome of a fine human being. You won't find if you want a hero, if you want somebody to look up to, there's your man.
I agree with you. I got to run to the news, sir. Thank you. God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Real quick, I want to remind everybody about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with the best tire value promise in the industry. Absolutely the best in tires for all your style of driving, all of your vehicles, and don't forget the best in brake value. They take care of your brakes to make sure with your brake service that you have the best of professionally trained technicians, over 30 years experience with the best brake warranty and premium quality parts. Shocks and struts, front end alignments, batteries, all of this and much, much more at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. You're the best Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run to the news, caller. I'm sorry I ran out of time. Call me back a little bit later. I do appreciate your call. Everybody's call. I'll see you in 6. Don't go away.
And adults who starve to death every year around the world. That's 18 million people. Because within 10 years, we would have 180 million people added to the United States of America. I ask you, the listener, can we sustain, in just 10 years, saving the rest of the world that these people would have starved to death, but we bring them into America? Can we sustain our own population, and can we sustain our own citizens? Do you know the answer? And, of course, I know the answer to that. So, this engineered invasion of America, we already take in 1 million legal immigrants, 1.1 million to 1.2 million every year. I don't know how to ask anyone any other question other than we cannot continue to allow, whether you want to call it hate, or you want to call it love, or you want to call it humanitarian, we can help them in their own countries with food, with water, with birth control, and so forth. But we cannot change, we simply cannot save them all, but we can destroy our own country. So that's the question. Can we take
unlimited millions of children into our country and survive ourselves? That's the question you have to ask.
And Frosty, I wanted to bring you up to speed on something that just occurred in our newspaper yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I want your opinion on this. Our Governor Butch Otter, a friend of mine, and I'm proud to admit it, came out and said that he has sent a letter to the federal officials telling them not to send any of the unaccompanied young migrants. They call them migrants in this newspaper story. I will call them illegal alien children at the U.S.-Mexico border and send them to Idaho. He said, don't do it. Well, his challenger, his Democratic challenger for this fall, A.J. Balikoff, said that Otter's letter was nothing more than an election year ploy, and he said, quote, we frankly think it's not appropriate for the governor to weigh in on this national crisis that has nothing to do with his office at this time, just to score political points. Our governor is no different than the governor in Massachusetts, or the governor in Connecticut, or the governor Rick Perry down in Texas. I'm glad that Governor Butch Otter spoke out and told the federal government no. What are your thoughts?
Well, and I'll support him also because even Rick Perry down there in Texas, the governor of Texas, you have to understand that every governor is the president of each state. And every governor is supposed to protect his state or her state, if it's a female governor, to the point of Rick Perry is putting National Guard troops, I understand, on the border to facilitate the border patrol. Because the fact is, again, how many tens of thousands and then hundreds of thousands of all these children can we bring into our schools? How many can we feed? How many can we clothe? How many can we warm? How many can we educate? How many can we even try to sustain them in our communities? And the answer is we can't. That's simply a fact of numbers. And so every governor has the right to absolutely tell federal Washington officials that no, we don't and we cannot take these children. You take them into, why don't you let's bring 50 of those children or 100 of those children and put them into the White House and see how the White House deals with it. Or let's take those children and put them into the governor's mansions around the country or into the senators' houses that are all sitting here letting this invasion happen. I guarantee you very quickly it would stop, because when it gets down to individual accountability and responsibility, governors like Bennett, senators like U.S. Senator Bennett from Colorado or Utah, they'd freak right out if you all of a sudden threw about 50 to 100 kids into their houses. And that's what it's getting down to. We're getting invaded. Our homes, our communities are getting invaded. And it's either we stand up and say something about it. And again, humanitarian-wise, I'm a humanitarian from the A to Z. Help them in their own countries, but do not allow a bunch of adults to engineer an invasion of our country by, it wasn't 6-year-old kids that had somebody put them on a bus, pay for the bus, and put them on the border, and then shuttle them across the border. It was adults that did that, and they were Mexican adults, they were Honduran adults, they were El Salvadorian adults, and so forth and so on. And then there's adults on this side facilitating the invasion also. We really need to get down to asking ourselves, are we a country of the rule of law, or are we a country that just goes off on emotional tangents? And we better figure that out sooner rather than later.
And Frosty, my question to you this morning is simply this. Over the last week, since we talked last Monday, what really has been done to stop or stymie or slow down the problem? This administration has done nothing but kind of turn a deaf ear and a blind eye away from it. And basically, I don't think they're ever going to do anything.
Well, and that's correct. You have to understand that according to numbersusa.org and certainly capsweb.org, which I hope every listener is a member of, to help stop this thing by the sheer collective number of us all together and to empower yourself, we're still kicking in 600 to 700,000 illegal aliens every year. That's the figures from Roy Beckett Numbers. So the invasion illegally hasn't stopped because the president and the Congress won't do anything. And now with all of these children, and with 60 or 70,000 of these children, wait till the next 60 or 70,000 comes, because they are coming on. As soon as they find out, it goes right down the chain of command, or the grapevine, if you will, and come to America, because you're going to be able to be given an amnesty, and you're going to get free food, you're going to get free clothing, and you're going to get protected, and you're going to have all these things happen. And so we're going to have tens of thousands more of these children, and they're not all children. You know, you say, oh, they're 6-year-olds. No, they're 18 and 19-year-olds. And a lot of them are gang members from MS-13, Marisol Vitruca, 13 gang members. They've got scabies. They've got tuberculosis. They've got every kind of lice. They've got every kind of disease you can imagine, and they're not being screened. And then our communities get to have all of these medical crises impregnating our communities. It's a lose-lose for everybody. And right now, the President of the United States is responsible for this invasion, and the Congress is allowing the invasion. We could stop it within 30 days. Just put the U.S. troops on the border from Brownsville, Texas, 1,952 miles up to San Diego. Put troops literally a half mile apart, make a giant military fence, just like the DMZ in South Korea, and we could stop not only the drugs, but all the illegal aliens, and simply start enforcing our immigration laws here in America as to work, transport, and certainly housing, and we could stop it. But the president's not stopping it, but in fact is encouraging it, and it's complicit with the Congress of the United States, which means your 2 senators, my 2 senators, all your House reps, they're all part of this because they're not doing anything to stop it.
Frosty, on this trip, now I want you to kind of take a few moments here and explain to us the trip itself that you and your lovely wife Sandy are on, and basically, is there a reason for the trip? Is it for the writing of a new book? Is it for studying the border situation up close and personal? Give us kind of an update as to what this all means.
Well, Reb, you know that I work 60 hours plus per week on the immigration, population, environmental issues from September through May. I beat myself up. I work horrific hours. I write all of these articles. I write these books on what we're facing as a society and as a civilization. And frankly, it eats me alive because I know what's coming. I've seen what's coming. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called The Outliers. And the outliers are those like Galileo. They know the facts before the mainstream understands the facts. I'm like a Garrett Hardin with the tragedy of the commons. You've got one paddock of an acre, and you've got 2 horses in a water trough. The horses can romp and have a good time, eat all the grass they want. Their waste gets washed away. You put 100 horses on that same acre paddock, and you've got a lot of trouble. Well, we've got a lot of trouble because we keep shoving all of humanity into America to the point where we're going to grow by 100 million more people via immigration within the next 30 years, and no one understands it, but I do. So what I'm doing on this trip is just to give myself a chance to relax, to see the sights, talk to the people. I've got 6 questions, actually, which I'm asking all the way down down to Mexico. And the 5 questions are, what do you think about what's happening to America as to immigration? What do you think the implications are in the long term? What do you think about our quality of life and standard of living? And so I have 5 questions like that. And then the 6th question is, what would you do if you were a senator? What would you do if you were the president to preserve America? It's an open-ended question. That's the 6th question. And I'll be asking these questions all the way down to Mexico in the next 6 weeks. And then I'll be able to give you a real, and as we go along and I talk to you on Mondays, I'm getting the heartbeat of America on this trip. And so at the same time, I'm out here just relaxing and trying to enjoy and obviously I love riding my bicycle across the country. So
that's what's going to be happening in the next 6 weeks.
Let me ask you this, Frosty. When you look at the situation as to what's happened with the United States Marine in Tijuana being locked up in a Mexican jail, our president is doing nothing, along with John Kerry to try to get him out. Absolutely nothing. What are your concerns as an American husband and wife going into Mexico, especially with the kind of knowledge that you possess? What are your concerns about crossing the international line going into Mexico?
Well, as a matter of fact, you know, Tijuana is a pretty dangerous place. Juarez, Mexico is a pretty dangerous place. Yours truly will be just touching the border, literally touching the tin border. The last time I did this was quite a few years back. I'm just going to go right to the border, put my hand on the tin fence that's there that separates the two countries, and then skedaddle back to San Diego. I don't really care to go. I've traveled all over Mexico in the past. The poverty is wrenching. The corruption is extraordinary. It is hopeless on just about every level. The rich stay rich down there. They could care less about the poor. The racial discrimination in Mexico is beyond anyone's understanding. They call America, with all of its racist, policies and so forth, racism in Mexico is endemic, and there's environmental chaos down there. They have to shut the water off in Mexico City because there's like 22 million people, and they can't keep them, watered. They can't even have toilets. Just the whole societal mess of Mexico is one of the reasons why so many millions, somewhere between 12 and 15 million Mexicans have migrated into America. They get to use a shower, they get to use a toilet, and they get clean food here, for heaven's sakes. You can't blame these people for all of this because they live in these societies and these civilizations that are so degraded. But in the process, our civilization is being degraded. As a matter of fact, I've talked about the illiteracy of Detroit, 76% dropout flunk-out rate. I'll have to send you at some point how Detroit is rebounding. And one burger chef has said, we cannot sell, S-A-L-E, any more burgers today. We are out of meat, M-E-E-T. We are out of meat, M-E-E-T. It shows you that the illiteracy rates in America are skyrocketing. And again, if we continue importing all of this poverty and all this cultural poverty, we're going to see more illiteracy, which will mean we'll have more poverty, and then it'll be intractable, and it is intractable right now, and that's what we face, and it's not going to be fun for anybody.
Okay, real fast, Frosty, I've only got a minute left. Where do you anticipate being next Monday on your journey?
By next Monday, we'll be into Oregon, so hopefully I'll be next to a city, and I'll give you a call to let you know we're next to a city. And, I can give you a really nice report, but we'll be right there on the coast of Oregon, so hopefully we're in radio range and telephone range, and it'll be great to speak with you and each listener on Zeb at the Ranch, and I'll be answering some of those questions from some of the people that I asked my little 6 questions to.
All right. Frosty Woldridge, have a safe trip along with his lovely wife down the coast of the United States of America on a bicycle all the way down to the Mexican border. God bless, man. Take care. Have a great trip.
Always a pleasure, Zeb. Thank you, and God bless, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much. Frosty Woldridge on another trek across America, and we'll have him on the air next Monday. Thank you so much. Hey, don't forget our friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. I'm telling you, they can meet or beat any price on flooring. They can meet or beat any price on flooring. And also free in-home consultation. And you know what their slogan is? Where your home design needs are aisles apart, not miles apart. They can help and service you and the beautification of your home. 678-6945. That's the number for Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the Blue Door. Really, really nice people. Hey, we welcome a brand new sponsor to our program. As a matter of fact, in about 20 minutes, we're going to have a little visit with her. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, and she's located, now listen carefully to the directions. I'm going to take a little extra time to give this to you. 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, behind the Minidoka Hospital, right across the street from the emergency room at Minidoka Hospital. Number to call, 312-0957. Did you hear that? Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Hearing loss is not a part of aging. It's a very serious problem. You need to take care of your hearing, and she would like to help you. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. What a nice lady, and like I said, we're going to have her on the program with us in about 15 minutes, as a matter of fact. Hey, by the way, another group that I want to talk about, Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. They're on their summer hours. Yep, open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 6, and they've got a lot of the 2015 models coming in right now, the dirt bikes, Can-Am, side-by-sides, and there's rebates on some of the 2014 models. And listen, need a generator, we're going to go camping or something, or you need it for maybe home security to the point if the power goes off, you'll have a generator. They've got generators on sale right now at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Yup, where the fun is sold. Really good, folks. Oh my, let's see. We're going to go to the phone line momentarily and have a lovely, lovely lady on the phone with us. And that's going to be Carrie Kupek.
I can't get a hold of. I'm trying to get a hold of her. I need a secondary number because the number you gave me goes directly to voicemail. So if lovely Deanne can send me a different number, and then we've got Adrian Arp on the phone.
You know what? I have a problem with what you just said. Lovely Deanne is not home.
Oh.
You know, you never realize how bad you miss somebody until all of a sudden she decided to go away this morning and get groceries and pick up Ruby from the vets, and I'm sitting here and I'm going, not this morning.
Well, I know that she had sent me her number in a previous email, so I'm going to go ahead and look for that email, and I'm going to try and frantically call her. I did leave a voicemail for Carrie.
Okay.
So I'm just going to continue to look for that secondary number, and like I said, we still have Adrian Arp on the phone.
And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do a quick commercial and go with Adrian on a phone call, so stand by. I'll be right there, Adrian. Don't go away. Hey, when you think about life insurance, when you think about health insurance, when you think about retirement planning, and all of us should think about that, and employee benefit programs, that type of thing, you need to talk to the pros, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Dean and Todd, dedicated and responsive to your needs, always, and very focused on your successful future. Gee whiz, now I got local phone calls coming in when I can't take them on the air. Oh my goodness, I miss Deanne. Anyhow, don't forget to get a hold of Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, 436-4424. Adrian, good morning. How are you?
Good morning again. I wanted to make a quick comment. Scientific America, years ago, when they first got satellites up and they took infrared pictures of our country, you could see the border. You know, we see on a map an invisible border, but by infrared you could see all the production on the American side, U.S. side, and on the other side of the border, I mean, it was just bleak. Because infrared shows up with, you know, a real dark red color showing there's agriculture and things growing. And on the other side of the border, I mean, you could draw a line just like you can on a map with infrared. It is that bad when you cross the border. So I just wanted to emphasize what Frosty was saying, what difference there is just crossing that border. Hello. The kind of government and the, you know, that they...
Jerry, can you call the station real quick?
You can't blame them for wanting to come here. Well, we cannot... accept all of those millions of people, as Frosty said. We need to be camping on our people in Washington and say, stop this invasion. Article 4, Section 4 says no invasion. So, That's my comment.
No, I agree with you, Adrian. I apologize. I just had our guest call in from Washington and have to get the Watts line number. But everything you said is 100% true, and I want you to give me a real short response on this, if you would. What did you think about that newspaper story from Democratic challenger A.J. Balikoff criticizing our governor for speaking out against accepting these illegal alien children?
Well, again, he takes an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution. Article 4, Section 4 says that they're protect us against invasion.
Yep.
And whether they're 3 years old or 100 years old, we're being invaded by these illegal aliens. And, of course, Times News called them, immigrants and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, undocumented immigrants. Give me a break. You know, Times News need to be held accountable for their lack of truthfulness on that issue and the climate change and everything else.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I was very much offended by saying in the headline, Otter, don't send migrant kids to Idaho. That's not what Butch Otter said. That was the Times News altering that. Migrant and illegal alien children are two different things. Adrian, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. Have a good day.
God bless. And don't forget our friends at Lease Furniture, Floors, and More, and they've got all the Simmons mattresses for a good night's sleep. Wake up refreshed. And they've got all the floor coverings to let your little toesies scurry across the carpet. Oh, comfy. And then, of course, they've got all the Flex Steel furniture, too. You are going to enjoy going to Lease Furniture, Floors, and More and just beautifying and modernizing and making your home more comfortable. Stop in and talk to the professionals that really care. They've got all the bedroom sets, the floor coverings, the dining room sets, the living room sets, all the recliners, everything at Lease Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Gina, do you have her on the phone? Yes, she just called here, and I told her to call the Watts line number. There we go. Good morning, Carrie Kupek. How are you?
Okay, Zeb, how are you doing this morning?
Well, to be honest with you, it's like a Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey circus, and I'm all three rings going at the same time.
I hear you. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Hey, real quick, we got to get into this. I've got another guest in a few minutes, and I want to make sure we give enough ample time. What's going on with the New Generation Christian Church in Georgia to where they were told that they had to cancel their worships? What's this all about, property and less than 3 acres and all this stuff?
Right, and the government should never discriminate against small startup ministries or churches, and that's exactly what was going on here. Now, we do have some good news, but I just want to give you the background really quickly on this. This is a new startup small church that was desiring to meet and hold worship services, and the county told them that they could not have access to anything that was less than 3 acres. Now, this church couldn't afford to lease or rent or to buy property that was more than 3 acres, which is understandable. When you have a new ministry, a new church, you often don't have that kind of finances available to you. Now, however, the county did allow all kinds of other organizations to access property that was less than 3 acres. And the church repeatedly applied for access to these spaces, and the county said no. And eventually the church met in a basement of a jewelry store, which clearly is inadequate, and the county temporarily allowed them to stay there. But we just settled with the county last week, and the county has changed its zoning policy, and it looks like startups, ministries, new churches, those organizations that don't have the money to, build a mega church right away are going to continue to be able to freely meet and worship in Rockland County in Georgia. So that's good news.
Let me ask you this, Carrie. Is this just another story of condemning and going after Christianity in any blatant form? They don't care. Is that what really this is?
It really appears that way, especially when the government is specifically manipulating zoning regulations to prevent small churches, small religious organizations to set up shop. Especially, and what's odd, first of all, this is illegal, unconstitutional, but just from a common sense perspective, these are the organizations that we want in our society. You know, they're not asking for special treatment. They're just asking for equal access like everybody else, especially because they're serving the needs of, you know, the people who need it the most within these communities. And we see consistent attempts by the government just to shut down these little groups from, you know, worshiping and setting up churches within the communities that need them the most.
You know, there's another story that every time I have something on my program about Planned Parenthood, I end up being mad and kind of in a surly mood for the rest of the day, because Planned Parenthood is one of the groups, if you will, that's on my target hit list to see if we can't do away with as far as any funding at all from the taxpayers. Tell us about this story regarding ADF and Planned Parenthood going on right now.
Well, Alliance Defending Freedom just released their annual report analyzing Planned Parenthood's spending and funding, and again exposing the amount of fraud, abuse that goes on within their billing and just their misuse of finances. For instance, I mean, it appears that 1 in 4 Planned Parenthood affiliates are involved in fraud and abuse and waste of their funds. And we've actually had we've been told by former Planned Parenthood officials that are now pro-life that Planned Parenthood affiliates actually impose an abortion quota within their offices, which is just disturbing. And the bottom line is that governments should be using taxpayer money, you know, responsibly. And if they're going to funnel this kind of money to Planned Parenthood doesn't get a free pass. They have to abide by the same rules as every other organization. And yet we're talking millions of dollars of misuse, overbilling, fraud, all kinds of really criminal activity that would land anyone else in serious hot water. And so we're just calling this to Congress's attention yet again to just expose the fraud that's going on within Planned Parenthood and its affiliates.
You know, and I'm going to show a little ignorance here, Carrie, because I can't remember or recall where I saw an interview lately in the last, let's say, 6-7 days in regards to Planned Parenthood, and I think it said that the numbers were like 81% of Americans were against Planned Parenthood and against the way that they handle our money and against what they do. Well, then if that's true, and again, I'm saying that this is subjective because I can't remember and recall the exact study. If that's true, why are we putting up with this, and why don't we demand not only better accountability, but shut them down?
You're absolutely right. And Planned Parenthood, at its core, is a billion-dollar abortion industry. I mean, this is an industry. This is a business. They make a lot of money off of providing birth control pills or abortion services to women, and this is a cash cow for them in a lot of ways. And to add insult to injury, you know, there's all these instances, as outlined in this report that was made public last week, of this fraud, of this abuse, of this mismanagement of funds. And so you're absolutely right. This is something very concerning that all Americans should take a closer look at and say, hey, we're not going to put up with our taxpayer money being given to groups that abuse it and just completely don't follow the law as everybody else is supposed to and has to.
You know, and again, I want to stress the fact that I don't recall exactly who had that survey or where it came from, but I'll try to find that out. And I'm not making an allegation that those numbers are correct, but I still maintain, like in many, many stories that we have on this program, especially like the percentage of Christians that are against the increase of what's going on in our schools, etc. Christians still outweigh the numbers by like 82 to 83%, but our voices are not being heard, especially over the lesbian, gay, and transgender issues. And it's time that the American public that is Christian stood up and spoke out. I think you'd agree.
I do agree. And like I always say, this is about freedom on a large scale. I mean, aside from the Planned Parenthood issue that we're talking about with the abuse of funding and mismanagement of funds, as far as the issues that you're pointing out right now, all Americans, as I always say, should be free to live and work according to their beliefs, outside of government punishment. So regardless of whether you're a Christian or wherever you fall on the religious spectrum, we all can agree that freedom and freedom of conscience is essential. And that's an assault by the government on these things that we're seeing in record form. And all Americans should be concerned about this and should be, like you said, taking notes, taking action, contacting their representatives, and doing something about it.
Alliance Defending Freedom, I'm blessed to have you on the program, and tell my listeners how they can follow some of these stories and also possibly help with contributions for all the great work that you do.
They can check us out at alliancedefendingfreedom.org, or if they want more in-depth analysis or legal documents and just taking a look at the cases on a deeper scale, they can go to adfmedia.org, and the contact info and ways to help us fight for freedom and defend freedom can all be found on those websites.
Carrie, thank you for your diligence in trying to get through and finally getting through, and I really do appreciate everything you do to help us. God's blessings to you and all the folks with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Thanks for being on the air this morning.
Thanks, Dad.
God bless. Thank you very much. Very, very nice lady, and we're blessed to have her on our program. Carrie Kupek, thank you, with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you very much. Wow, time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you this hour by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. I mean, you've heard me say this. A lady called me last week, and she says, really, is that your store that you like to go to and just browse? Yes, it is. I'm always finding something. The great indoors for those who love the great outdoors, with the best of everything, quality gear, and a down-home attitude at Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hi, everyone. Michael Rogers from Zebedee Ranch. Welcome to a brand spanking new week of you, me, cloudy, and hot weather. Yeah, you're getting set up for rain, but it's not going to be for today. It's going to be cloudy and hot, 92 with a high 68 for the overnight low. Slight chance of rain for tomorrow and tomorrow night. Wednesday, you're going to get some rain. You're also going to possibly get some thunderstorms out of this also. But otherwise, still summertime in the Magic Valley. No major watches or warnings. Just typical summertime thunderstorms in July going into August. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather, feel the weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Yes, it is the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. Everything for hunting and fishing, archery, camping, boating, ATV riding, electronics, everything, it's there for Sportsman's Warehouse. People that love the great outdoors. You better believe it. Sportsman's Warehouse. Love that store. Oh, and by the way, let's take a look here real fast. I want to remind you, too, about Burley and the great big merchants supporting the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, August 11th through the 16th. And here are some of those merchants, like Dot Foods in Burley. They're now hiring, too. You looking for a job? They've got great jobs. 678-6063, or go to their website, drivefordot.com. And don't forget, this is a family-owned company that offers easily attainable bonuses for everything from fuel economy to safety. You get a hold of them today. Dot Foods in Burley, 678-6063. Along with Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley, locally owned and operated, quality seed at competitive prices, and they will continue to provide the customer service and seed as available. Golden Valley Warehouse. And last but not least, Joe Taylor with Carey and Adams Realty, 1826 Overland in Burley. I'll tell you what, this is one of the greatest guys in the world ever. Great real estate agent. Joe Taylor buys and sells real estate. One call does it all. 678-9400, Joe Taylor. And those are just some great merchants that are supporting the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo this year, August 11th through the 16th. Woo! Let's go to the phone line. As I said, it's like a three-ring circus this morning, and I'm the number one elephant. We're going to be talking to a lovely lady right now, Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Good morning, Christine. How are you?
I'm great, Zed. How are you?
Well, it is a pleasure to have you on the program, even for a few moments, because I think first and foremost what we want to do is stress the fact that you really are concerned with people's hearing or loss of hearing, and you've got a great business, and I want you to tell everybody where you're located so they can understand and make an appointment and come see you if they're having a problem. So go ahead and give us a real good definition as to where you are located.
So I'm right behind the Minidoka Memorial Hospital. If you look right across the driveway from the emergency room, you look straight north. I'm on the left in unit number 2.
Well, now, you said something the other day when we were over to visit with you, that hearing loss is not a part of aging. It's not something that, oh, well, I'm just getting old. Explain that a little bit, would you please?
That's true. Hearing loss is often a symptom of either noise exposure or several different health risks, including heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes. And it's often a symptom of another problem. Too many people think that hearing loss is just something that happens as you get older, but if you look at cultures where they don't have the noisy things that we have in our culture, they could live up to 100 with no hearing loss at all. Hearing loss is not a normal thing that is just part of aging. It's actually a symptom of a problem that needs to be treated.
Okay, now, what are some of the things that can cause hearing loss? I mean, as far as, sure, I know loud noises and everything, but what are some of the other symptoms that people need to be aware of?
Well, one of the major ones is noise, of course, but another is the medications that we take.
Really?
There are several antibiotics. There's medications that men take for men's health that actually can cause...
Not install into apartment.
Yeah, and tell her I'm off the air.
A big old earwax problem in my ear, and so how does somebody fix that?
Well, earwax is actually a simple thing. It just needs to be removed, and once it's removed, and you'll hear just fine. So sometimes that can cause a temporary loss. Unilateral or one-sided hearing loss is actually very dangerous because you lose your ability to know where a sound's coming from. Everything goes to the good ear, but what we actually hear with our brain, and if the tone cues between the two ears are not equal, it makes it really hard to hear in background noise, to hear where sounds are coming from, or to be able to say, I want to hear this, turn down the background noise. Background noise is horrendous when you are only hearing out of one ear.
Gotcha.
You know, I really appreciate Gina jumping in there and helping. Christine, as you're probably aware or not aware, we've been having a lot of trouble with our long-distance carrier, and I got cut off again just a moment ago, and Gina jumped in, as professional as she is, and helped with this interview. I didn't want to miss anything, and thank you, Gina. I do appreciate that. What about hearing tests, Christine, as far as going to you, sitting down and having hearing tests? It's not all doom and gloom if they do have a hearing problem, because there are answers, aren't there?
There are, and I tailor those solutions based on the hearing testing. A hearing aid fitting or an assistive listening device is only as good as the diagnostic information that we gathered before, and so that testing is actually really critical. You'll hear people talk about, get a free hearing test, and you really get what you pay for. I do charge for my hearing test, but I'm very, very thorough in what I do. I accept most insurance companies, and then that really drives what treatment solutions we want to talk about.
Okay, now, again, I want to stress the fact that from 4 years old and up, you've got a wellness program which includes a free hearing screening. And then people can get in there and they can bring their youngsters because, a lot of times the kids, you'll probably say, they're just not attentive or they've got their thoughts in other areas. Maybe they can't hear what you're telling them.
It's true. Children can suffer from hearing loss just as much as adults can. Some of it's genetic. Sometimes it's an infection that they get. And it's important to catch hearing loss in kids because all of the education stuff and the learning that they do, a lot of it's based on what you hear. And so it's critical that children are hearing well.
You know, Christine, we can't live in a bubble. I mean, we just can't from the time we get up in the morning and turn on our car or our pickup to go to work, and that work, and, whatever you do, there's always going to be loud noises or something. So what do we do to protect ourselves?
Well, kind of a good guideline is if it's loud enough that you can't carry a conversation with somebody, it's loud enough to start damaging your hearing. It's not just loud noise, it's the type of noise and then how long you're exposed to that noise. I offer some really good hearing protection options as well. If you're a hunter and you want to be able to protect your hearing from shooting, but you need to hear your prey, I have a solution for that. If you're a musician and you need to hear the music well, but you want to protect your hearing, I have a solution for that as well. And they're not terribly expensive, but they're worth the investment to help protect your hearing in the future. Once you lose your hearing, we can't bring it back at this point. So prevention is really key.
You know, one of the notes that you gave us, and it kind of surprised me somewhat, is that more men than women have hearing problems. I didn't know that because sometimes with screaming kids and the loud noise with the television and the kids with all the games and the yelling around the house and everything, you'd think that women would have just as much of a problem sometimes with hearing that men do.
Well, it's all about the kind of noise you're in and how long you're exposed to it. Typically, women are, the occupations they choose, they're not exposed to quite the same noise or at the same level as men are with the more industrial or with, woodworking or that kind of stuff. It's different types of noise. So it's not just noise itself, but it's the type and then how long you're exposed to it over time. And typically, like with farming, and you're in a tractor for 8 to 10 hours a day, that kind of stuff over time is more damaging than a baby screaming for a few minutes.
All right. Now, the main thing is about audiology tests is that they need to call, set up an appointment with you, and don't let this go by the wayside, because the longer they wait, the worse their hearing can become. What about these tests? Do they take quite a while? I've only got about a minute or so left.
No, it takes about 45 minutes to do the testing, and then we'll take as much time as you need to discuss the results and what your goals are, what you want to do. So it's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours tops, depending on how much you want to discuss things. But I'm willing to take the time to make sure you understand the results and you know what your options are.
Did you hear that? Well, yes, you can, if you'll just be sure and remember Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Christine Pickup, the Doctor of Audiology, very, very nice lady, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind Minidoka Hospital and across the street from the emergency room. And the number to call for an appointment, 312-0957. Christine, you did an excellent job. Thank you for being on the program, and God's blessings, and I hope all goes well.
Thank you kindly. You have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much. She is one of the nicest ladies you could ever want to meet. And this is a sidelight. The other day, I met her and her children, and those are the most polite children in the world. I'm always very complimentary when I see polite children, hear polite children, and am around polite children. They're wonderful. Absolutely nice people. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. We're going to be talking a lot more about them on my program. Oh my, are you hungry? Well, I'll tell you what the special is today at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, listen to this. Oh, let me have your ear for just a moment. Today the special is roasted pineapple chicken over rice with vegetables and super salad for just $8.95. Oh, that sounds good. At the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Great menu, super nice people, and you just get on in there and enjoy roasted pineapple chicken over rice. Today at the Chadwick Sports Grill. You are going to love it. I really do appreciate, Gina, if you're there, turn your microphone on for just a second, because I have now purchased your Christmas present, and I didn't have to do much thinking as to what I'm going to get, how I'm going to get it, or whatever. Plain and simple, I believe in useful gifts. I believe in something that's going to be not all glitter and pizzazz, but something that people can put their hands on and say, boy, I appreciate it, so I am buying you a 5-gallon can of gas.
Perfect. I love that. I need it.
Yeah, you do. You proved that this morning, kid.
Yes, I did. And here's the funny thing. Everybody's like, Gina, well, check the gas gauge. Check the gas gauge. I just had my fuel pump changed, and so my gas gauge is not reading correctly. So according to my gas gauge, I still had an eighth of a tank left. But apparently, once I hit that eighth of a tank, it means that I'm out.
Well, gee, duh. Okay, Gomer.
So I'm, usually, I know I kind of escape my car a little bit, close to the bottom edge, and usually I never let it go past a quarter of a tank. But this morning, I just, I was thinking, okay, I've got enough. I can make it to work, and then I'll just get gas later.
Didn't work that way, did it? Okay, well, you've got your Christmas present. I'll wrap it up, and you can act really surprised when you open it.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
I'll be like, oh, thanks, Dad.
Something I always wanted. All right, I'll see you back here in 6. Zeb at the Ranch, don't go away. Hour number 2, 3, pardon me. Oh, time flies when you're having fun. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you, all 7 locations. And also, we'd like to say thanks to some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. Real quick before we get our guest on the program, something for the sugar beet growers. Introducing Preaxor from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for sugar beets to fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content for your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound, xemium, that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. As I said, with the application of BASF's Preaxor 45 to 60 days prior to harvest, you have the potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. Contact your local ag chem supplier today. Do it. For more information, call BASF's Ron Ellis. What a great guy. 431-6776 or Tim Perry at 844-0682. BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. Well, we're going to have a lady on the phone with us right now that absolutely knows everything about what's going on with recreation and the great outdoors of the state of Idaho, and she's with the Idaho Recreation Council. Good morning, Sandra Mitchell. How are you?
Good morning, and I am well, thank you. And you?
It's so good to have you on our program this morning, Sandra. When we last talked, we, I think, visited about the potential closures of some of the lakes around the state and reservoirs. What else has happened with the Idaho Recreation Council since the last time you were on our program? Anything else to worry about?
Well, it's not official yet. The actual decision on Lake Lowell hasn't been released, but very optimistic that it's going to be a surprisingly good decision. And I suspect that'll be released sometime yet this summer. So that's positive. And that all happened because people got involved, and the delegation got involved, the county commissioners got involved, and made it a big issue statewide and took it to the national level. So, congratulations, and it's not official, but I suspect it's going to be a really good decision. What else is going on? Well, right now, probably at the top of our list is the national monument issue. And in the early 1900s, the president was given the authority to declare an area a national monument and preserve it in any way that he saw fit or she saw fit. There were no parameters, there were no requirements. It was truly a blank sheet of paper, and the idea was in the law, it says, and it's a one-page law, that it should be as small as area as possible. Well, latter-day presidents have determined there's a new definition for smallest areas available. So there are 2 that I know of, national monuments being considered for Idaho. One, and it's probably the one that is getting the most attention nationally and statewide, is in the Boulder White Cloud Mountains. And that's an area in Custer County. And it's an area already, a county already, that has hundreds of thousands of acres of wilderness, and their economy's not booming. So, it's really hard to say that wilderness is good for the economy. Anyway, so that the Boulder White Clouds area is an area that is classic backcountry, has mixed use, motorized, non-motorized, winter, summer, and it's been working so well that land still qualifies for wilderness. It's still managed as a recommended wilderness area. So that's an issue of great concern because the president could determine to eliminate all the motorized uses, could determine to eliminate the grazing. It's truly up to the administration.
All right, now I want you to break this down for my listeners, and this has been a hot button for me for a long time, Sandra, to the point where I'm not happy with Congressman Mike Simpson for his stand supporting Boulder White Clouds becoming a national monument. I'm not happy because I shouldn't, as a taxpayer, and because of some of the disabilities I have, be excluded from enjoying this area of Idaho just like everybody else. And basically that's what it's going to do, is shut our areas completely away from me and others so that we can't enjoy them. Am I right or wrong?
Well, first of all, Congressman Simpson doesn't support a national monument for the boulders. I think what you're thinking of, he supported and introduced a wilderness bill for the boulders.
That's true.
But he doesn't support the national monument.
That's true.
In fact, quite honestly, Zeb, it doesn't matter what the delegation thinks about the national monument because it's completely out of their hands. The law gives the president all the authority. He isn't required to consult with one person in an affected state. However, he can choose to. The secretaries don't have to come here to meet with Idahoans, but they've promised to. So it's the law. And honestly, we have had a number of times when Republicans have had the White House, the Senate, and the House, and that bill has never been amended. And it should have been amended. It should have been amended during the Reagan years, during the Bush years. It should have been amended. And in fact, when that day comes, and it will come again, when we have the President, the White House, and the Congress, we Idahoans need to just scream and yell that you've got to amend that Antiquities Act. It's got to be fixed because it can do so many wrongs. And what it can do, it can hurt local economies because if you eliminate uses, you hurt the economy. And it denies hard-working, tax-paying folks the opportunity to go out and use the public lands in a responsible way.
Well, let me ask you this, Senator. When I said that about Congressman Mike Simpson, I misspoke, and I do know that he does support that area as a wilderness area. Isn't that also going to be subjected to minimized and minimal usage by people like myself?
Wilderness is the most restrictive designation there is. It does not allow for motorized and mechanized uses. There's no logging. There's no mining. In fact, nature is to prevail. It's man is a visitor, and his footprint doesn't remain. Congressman Simpson did work with user groups and tried to put together a bill that would be accepted by all, and the recreational community absolutely did not accept it. It minimized our ability to use any of the areas. And once you put a motor near a wilderness area or within a wilderness area, it's not long before people start complaining about, oh my gosh, I can hear a motor, I can see a motorized vehicle, this is wilderness, that shouldn't be happening. And our use is always in jeopardy. So we oppose CEDRA, and we oppose the National Monument. Now, I will tell you, in my opinion, that a national monument is better than wilderness only because you can legislate on top of a national monument. For example, if the president came in and locked up all of the boulders, kicked out all the motorized people who have been responsible using it for decades, we could go to the Idaho delegation and work with them to put another designation, a congressional designation on top of it, like a national protection area, and open it up. But that area is not in need of protection. It already has the SNRA, a National Recreation Area law, on top of it. It has the Idaho roadless rule. Nobody's going to mine it. Nobody's going to build any roads. It's truly just a backcountry recreation area that's working and working well, and we want to preserve that.
Sandra, do you look at this White Clouds issue as perhaps nothing more than a Democratic power play with the president, basically kind of picking his pen and his phone up and saying, I'm the president, I can do whatever I want? Really, it's not going to be for an advantage to anyone or any group, and it will hurt the state of Idaho economically, and especially the surrounding counties economically. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. However, this is about politics. It's not about protection. And there is a constituency that would like to see the boulders managed in a different way. And those people are probably supporters of the president. And those who oppose that lock-up kind of mentality and management are probably not friends of the president. So it's very political. And that's what's wrong with the Antiquities Act. It gives the president, any president, whether it be a Democrat or Republican, the ability to act strictly on politics, not what's best for the land, not what's best for the resources, not what's best for the people or the affected communities, to just make a political decision. That's what's wrong with it. Now, I will tell you, the Idaho Recreation Council I have been back to Washington twice, meeting with officials from the administration. I have taken our case back. I've taken our maps back. I've taken what we think is needed to protect the boulders, the uses in the boulders. We have online a media campaign. It's called OurBoulderWhiteClouds.com, and we're asking everyone in Idaho to go to that site and to take that survey. And that survey will ask you questions about public lands and how you think they should be managed, questions about the boulders, and all the information we glean from that survey will be shared with the administration, will be shared with the delegation, will be shared with environmental organizations, and will be shared with the governor. We're trying to give Idahoans an opportunity to have a voice in what happens in the boulders. And it doesn't matter. Even if you don't use the boulders, if you never plan to go to the boulders, it could be your foot riding area next. So we're asking everyone to go to OurBoulderWhiteClouds.com, take the survey, submit it to us, and then we will get it out to the people who make a difference, who will have the power to make a decision on these mountains. You know, God bless you for what you do on behalf of the Idaho Recreation Council and everything you do every day to help us. Are people aware? Are people cognizant of what you do and what you're trying to do? Are they supportive? What more can they do? What more can we do to help you? Well, right now, number one thing, go to OurBoulderWhiteClouds.com and take that survey. We just did a statewide campaign. We were in radio and we were on newspaper telling people about this survey, asking them to get involved. You don't have to be a recreationist. I mean, the boulders is not only going to impact recreation, it's going to impact water rights, grazing, and state endowment lands. This is important to all of Idahoans, and so we're asking them to get involved. Anybody who wants information about the Idaho Recreation Council, they can go online. We're there. We have a website. We have a way for you to sign up for email alerts so that we can let you know what's going on. And we'd love to have you join. And the great thing about the Idaho Recreation Council, other than what we do and how hard we work for Idahoans, is there's no dues. How terrific is that? You know, Sandra, when we look at the overall picture of cut back, you can't go here, you can't go there, people that were not believers and scoffed at the Agenda 21 that we heard about 10, 15 years ago, it seems like it's all coming to fruition right now, isn't it? It's very frightening. It is. We Iowans have a great respect for the public lands, and we care about them, and we are responsible stewards of these public lands. And to just have your eliminated makes no sense. Now, do I think there's times when you should be curtailed, prohibited? Absolutely, absolutely. And when those decisions are made on good science for a sound reason, we respect them and we support them. However, just because someone doesn't like you or because there's a perception that you may have a negative impact on a critter, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for Idahoans. And the only way we can get that message out is if we work together, we stand together, and we have a united voice. And we can do that.
Well, you were mentioning at the beginning of the program about Lake Lowell, and I want to go back to that because I'm very familiar with that area, and I'm very familiar with the people, evidently, that spoke out, and it looks like the decision's going to be in their favor, and it takes personal involvement for people to get up off the couch and do something.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And even more important, it's not always easy to get involved, but I will tell you, it's much easier to get involved when it's the lake you use, or the mountain you ride, or whatever. We, as Idahoans, need to get past just doing our own backyard involvement and realize that we need to stand with the person in Sandpoint and in Soda Springs. When they're having a problem, we need to join them and do whatever we can to help them so that we start a truly united Idaho. We're fighting for the same thing from one end of the state to the others, and we're willing to help our neighbors and our friends.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Caller, real quick, I'm almost out of time. Go ahead, please.
Yes, it seems as though that the people that are informed are the busiest people, with their businesses and their families. They care the most, and the rest of them are somewhere else, however it be. But you see, you get so damn busy trying to do everything, including involve yourself wherever there's another crisis. And with this administration and this president, this fraud, and the onslaught, the gauntlet of crap that he's throwing at us, and you say, well, we can't get it all done. We still got to somehow raise our families and live and the sake of living. And then you see, what crisis do you attend to first? And so you need to do this, you need to do that. Do you find that there's any, is the response level growing? Is awareness growing? Is there signs of hope? And I'll hang up. Thanks.
All right, thank you. That's a good question. Go ahead if you would, please, Sandra.
I still understand what you said. I mean, I get it. I really do. We all have these incredibly busy lives. But I will tell you that our philosophy is everybody doesn't have to do everything, but everybody needs to do something. And at the Idaho Recreation Council, we go out of our way to make it as simple and as painless as possible. I mean, we're not asking you to attend rallies and go to meetings and go to hearings and speak up. Right now, all we're asking is to fill out this survey. When there's comments that need to be submitted to the federal government, through the NEPA process, we send out suggested things you might want to include, how to send it in. We do our best to make it as simple as possible so it won't overburden the average citizen in Idaho who is just busy. That's all there is to it. So I do understand your plight, and it is very similar to most people across the state. But I will tell you, in spite of that, I do think awareness is higher, and I think more people are involved now than ever in the past.
Very well said. Sandra, if people want more information about the Idaho Recreation Council and how they can help, what should they do?
Well, go to ourboulderwhiteclouds.com and take that survey. If you want just generic information about the Idaho Recreation Council, it's id-rc.org. And my email address is there. You're more than welcome to contact me at any time if you want any information. Right now, there's a winter travel planning proposed rule for snowmobiles on the ground, and we're asking people to submit comments. If anybody wants information about how to do that, if they contact me, and my email address is smitchell with one L, SMITCHEL at alscott.com. Let me know, and I'll get you the information.
All right.
Get involved, care, pay attention. It'll make a difference. We'll all make a difference, and not everybody has to put in thousands of hours. Truly, you can make a difference in just an hour or so a week.
Absolutely. Sandra Mitchell with the Idaho Recreation Council, a wonderful, wonderful lady, always a real great guest on the program. Thank you, God bless, and I'll be back in touch with you in the not-too-distant future. Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you all.
All right, thank you. Very, very nice lady right there, and we appreciate her coming on the program. Hey, real fast, and then I got a question for Gina. Real fast, I want to remind everybody about A Child's World as one of the sponsors of School Days in Cassia County. Hey, don't forget they've got all kinds of cute clothes, and they got all the shoes and a lot of sale items, and they got all the birthday present gift-giving needs, and always gift wrapping is free at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. And once again, they are one of the proud sponsors of School Days in Cassia County, right along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center. Thank you so much. They do a wonderful job, and literally they've saved area people thousands and thousands of dollars on their surgical procedures. All you have to do is call 677-8888. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley, along with A Child's World, bringing you School Days in Cassia County. Hey, Gina, are you right there by your microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, good. How would you feel? Now, I'm going to ask you a quick question before we go to the break at the bottom of the hour. How would you feel, of course, now you're an old country girl, and I mean that in the politest sense of the words, but how would you feel if you walked into a pharmacy and the person that was handing you your pills had a .357 or a Glock on their hip?
I would be fine with it.
I would be too. And I'm glad to hear you say that.
They have... Well, here's my philosophy. You know, more and more robberies are being taken place, and a lot of them at pharmacies and places like that, where people going in and trying to basically demand drugs at gunpoint. So why shouldn't the pharmacists be able to protect themselves and their products with same said gun on their hip?
That's exactly why I brought this up, because I was unaware that there's been a rash of burglaries and thefts at pharmacies, and one of the pharmacies I was at the other day, the pharmacist had a gun on his hip and said, no, they're not coming in, they're not going to get the drugs, they're not going to rob us. And I think that the same should be done for all the banks. I think that absolutely people should be trained as tellers and loan officers and have a carrying permit right there in the bank. And I don't think there'd be a crook around anywhere dumb enough if the sign outside the bank says, welcome to our bank. Our tellers and our loan officers all have concealed weapons permits. I don't think you'd see any more problem with robbing banks.
I don't think you'd see any more problems either. And whatever happened to the days when there used to be an armed guard at pretty much every bank branch? Whatever happened to that?
You know, and I think the figure, if you will, of that person, like in Andy and Mayberry, they had a guy that was like 96 years old standing there in the corner of the bank with a gun that was rusty and didn't have any bullets in it. That needs to go away. There needs to be a very obvious attempt to inform the public that there are armed guards in the bank. They know how to shoot, and they will.
Or you could just put up, a little sign that says, premises is armed and video cameras are rolling.
There you go.
You know, that's pretty much all you have to say. People on the premises are armed, cameras are rolling.
I don't think it's fair. I want to ask you this real quick and get it in before the bottom of the hour. I don't think it's fair for a business to subject their employees to not being able to protect themselves.
No, and if those employees have their concealed weapons permit, not only are they protecting the business, but they're also protecting their other coworkers as well.
Absolutely.
That's my philosophy.
We're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow morning because I absolutely salute these businesses that are being proactive in making sure they not only protect the business, but also the employees, and I appreciate that.
We've got a quick phone call.
All right, real fast, caller. I've only got a minute. Go ahead real fast. And that was a short call, believe me. We're going to send it over to our main studios right now for our bottom of the hour report, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour on Zeb at the Ranch for this morning. And I want to remind you, too, Cassia County Fair and Rodeo right around the corner, August 11th through the 16th. And the featured entertainer this year on Tuesday, August 12th, is going to be Chris Cagle in concert right over there at the fairgrounds at 8 p.m. Man, that is going to be a fantastic concert. Don't forget PRCA rodeo, exhibits, horse races, entertainment, all of this and much, much more for your Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for 2014. Write the dates down and be there August 11th through the 16th at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and we have a gentleman that's been on our program before, and I'm looking forward to his comments here this morning. Jeff Dickens, good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
You know, Jeff, the situation on the border is not getting any better. I've had many, many border experts, including Frosty Woldridge out of Colorado and many others with Numbers USA, etc. This is absolutely ridiculous that we, the taxpayers, are being subjected to this mess that is being imposed upon us and costing us a lot of money and a lack of security. What are your thoughts about the border?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. This problem is not getting any better. Everything is getting worse. We did a report on the illegal immigration coverage, and in terms of how the big three are covering, and that is the big three being ABC, CBS, and NBC News. And they're doing their best to sort of make this as not as damaging as possible for the Obama administration. There's a lot of scandals that they're not reporting on. Yes, they're talking about and they're filling their TV screens with these images of these, of the children that need to be taken care of. But they're not talking about, for example, if your listeners go to Drudge Report, you'll see again he's highlighting the MS-13 gang recruiting members from these facilities. But the big three networks aren't talking about it.
All right, now, I'm going to be very blunt. I do not want these children here. I do not want these children used as pawns for the possibility of enhancing the Democratic Party. I do not want these children here because of the diseases. I do not want these children here because of the residual effect of more people coming in as purported family members. This is lunacy, and why can't we close the border? What is going on with this administration that they don't understand? The American public doesn't want this infiltration through our borders.
Well, I think you bring up a point. I mean, it's the sort of the theory out there is that they're hoping to once they get more of these illegal immigrants across the border, then once they're here, then they can be part of an amnesty program. And the thinking is that eventually they'll become more they'll vote Democratic. But you're right. What's not being reported on the big three networks is the fact that there's a taxpayer burden here. In terms of if they do become amnesty, then you have you have to teach these kids, you have to feed these kids, and this is not it's not getting reported.
Jeff, I am sick and tired, as you can probably tell by the tone of my voice, of the liberal left in this country having the audacity and, quite frankly, the brazenness to call us racist and bigot if we're not wanting to have these children here. It's common sense. Right now, we're not taking care of our own people in, let's say, lesser areas in the southeast or the south or in L.A., and I'm not going to be called a racist and a bigot. I'd much rather have my tax dollars go help them first.
Right, no, that's a good point. And there's always this, the left likes to play the race card. And most of these people that are on the border, it's not racial at all. They live and work with people of all sorts of races every day. I mean, they act like this is like the old South from the segregation of the South, and that's clearly not the case. But that's all they have. They can't. When they don't have the truth on their side, they'll play the race card. And this is not, again, it's not 1950s segregation of South. It's absurd to make that charge.
Do you see, and I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on this one because you're the man that's back there amongst all these wild, harebrained schemes the government tries to throw at us, do you see anything being done to stop this problem prior to the November 14th elections?
Well, quite honestly, I don't see it. I mean, I think, you have Governor Rick Perry, trying to do some things and try to bring in the National Guard, but I don't think they really have the authority to deport. So other than sort of these sort of symbolic gestures or sort of shows of, I don't see it. No.
Jeff, when you say about symbolic gestures, and there again, I think that's something about to deport. Well, why don't they have the symbolic gesture to hold their guns at ready for all these coyotes and everybody bringing these people in here illegally and turn them away before they even set their feet on American soil, so we don't have to worry about a deportation? They should be stopped before they get on American soil.
I know that's an interesting question. I don't know what the actual. Well, there is the argument of that there's that law that I think it was the 2008 law. Yeah, that if you can sort of cite refugee crisis and you're from these Central American countries, not Mexico, but you say you're from these Central Americans, then they have that sort of loophole. I think there's been discussion about closing that loophole. But I would not expect anything to get done before Election Day.
All right, but I'm not friendly to politicians that I have voted for, politicians that my taxpayer dollars are going to pay their wages, per se. I'm not friendly to anybody that doesn't do the job. And right now, I don't see anybody doing the job. There are just a handful of people that are speaking out. There's a handful of people that are condemning what's going on. Why isn't there a unified voice for us, the taxpayers, and shut this border down? I don't understand what's going on. It's not that big a problem. Just shut it down.
Well, that's a good point. And we here at the MRC and Newsbusters focus on the media angle. And I'm telling you, the media, they're also pressuring these politicians. So these politicians are always worried about being called, like as you pointed out earlier, being called a racist or, unfeeling to these children. And so that's part of the problem is you have the liberal media putting pressure. They don't talk about the taxpayer burden. They don't talk about how these small towns on the border are being hurt and harmed, or they don't talk about, or for the most part, they don't talk about the diseases that are coming through. They don't talk about the gang members coming through. They don't talk about, as the general of the U.S. Southern Command talked about, the very real threat of terrorists using these coyotes to come over the border. Again, the media is part of this.
Why isn't there more of an approach to ABC, CBS, NBC, and some of the others, especially the lunatics over at MSNBC? Why isn't there an approach to them to report the news and not be pro or con, not be biased, not be conservative and or liberal, but report the news? Whatever happened to good journalism and news? Jeff, I'm telling you, we've got a bunch of kindergartners that are trying to run the elementary school.
Right. Well, and as I've pointed out, I think on this show before, you have to remember that when you go through these news departments and some of these newspapers, and these reporters and these producers, they've worked for Democrats, they've worked for liberals. They are in fact liberals, so of course they're not going to be objective.
Well, they're doing a terrible, terrible job, and I don't know how you have any hair on your head. I'd tear it all out trying to work with these guys that are trying to disseminate only the... What's that?
No, I don't. Okay. I have lost my hair watching all this big free media.
And I certainly didn't mean to get personal on this. I apologize. But, there's got to be something done. There's got to be something done for the American people to understand and realize the power of the press and what they're doing to suppress the news to us. I don't care if it's Benghazi. I don't care if it's the Bo Bergdahl situation. I don't care if it's the IRS. I don't care if it's the border situation. We, the people, are not being informed with the honest appraisal of the news. They have dropped the ball.
Yeah, and the problem, too, is that we focus here on the big three news networks because, quite frankly, that's where still the highest ratings are. That's where most of the eyeballs are. That's where, your lower information voters still go to get their news, especially like these morning shows. And so even though Fox News is very high rated and they are reporting on this immigration crisis, and doing a lot of the reporting on it, they still don't have the same amount of viewers as ABC, CBS, and NBC combined. So, yeah, that's I would say your listeners, if they are frustrated, go to newsbusters.org. Continue to listen to radio shows like your show, and get the information, and talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends that may, in fact, be those quote-unquote low-information voters, and talk to your colleagues and get the true information out there, because they're not getting it on ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Absolutely. Jeff Dickens, thank you very much. And I would imagine that you probably have heard this 1,000 times, but when you were a little boy, they probably said, well, here's that little Dickens, and they didn't say it out of disrespect. Is that true? God bless you, man. Come back and see us again in the future, okay?
Absolutely. Again, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. Jeff Dickens with Media Research Center, talking about this mess on the board. You know, I hate to nitpick. No, I don't. When it comes to the Times News, I will nitpick, because this headline, the more I think about this headline that was in the paper yesterday about Governor Otter, the madder I get. And the reason I'm nitpicking is they said in big black letters, Otter, don't send migrant kids to Idaho. Well, first of all, they're not migrant kids. They're not migrant workers. They're not up here on a little sabbatical to work for a certain period of time and then go home. These are illegal alien children. Illegal, they're crossing the border into our country illegally. Alien, they are not native to our country. They are not citizens or taxpayers to this country, nor are the people that are bringing them across. They're not migrant kids. And I'm sick and tired of the lousy, poorly chosen verbiage of our illustrious Times News. And secondarily, when I'm off the air this morning at 11 o'clock, I am going to call the staff by the name of Mike Lanza with the Democratic challenger A.J. Balikoff, and I'm going to ask him why and how he could come up with such a absolutely uneducated, frivolous statement about our governor not thinking it's appropriate to weigh in on this national crisis. Why would they say something so absolutely stupid? And I'm going to find out if they've got the crust to come on this program and defend those remarks. I will bet you not. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Got to do a weather forecast real quick, and the weather is brought to everybody this hour. Holy buckets, got to run. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657 with the marinated tri-tips. Have you had those? Oh, my. For a summer gathering, a picnic, or whatever, that is absolutely fantastic. Oh, those tri-tips that they put together. Yeah. Selling taste one bite at a time. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Here now is Michael Rogers Weather.
Hi, everyone. Michael Rogers from Zebedee Ranch. Welcome to a brand spanking new week of you, me, cloudy, and hot weather. Yeah, you're getting set up for rain, but it's not going to be for today. It's going to be cloudy and hot, 92 with a high 68 for the overnight low. Slight chance of rain for tomorrow and tomorrow night. Wednesday, you're going to get some rain. You're also going to possibly get some thunderstorms out of this also. But otherwise, still summertime in the Magic Valley. No major watches or warnings. Just typical summertime thunderstorms in July going into August. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather, feeling what you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. As I said, man, everything is guaranteed. And taste, they're selling taste one bite at a time at Scarrows Meats, 324-7657. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, did you hear about the guy in Colorado that got finished mowing his lawn and then got arrested for DUI? Yeah, he did. He's in the slammer right now. He got picked up for drunken driving on his lawnmower. He was doing 5 miles an hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone, but he was weaving on his good old John Deere, and they arrested him. He was blitzed, is what he was. He finished mowing his lawn. It was a hot afternoon. He'd had a couple of beers on his lawn while he was cruising lawn mowing, and he decided he'd drive down to the local pub, and that's where he met his demise. And now, thanks to his lawnmower, he is behind bars.
Well, where was this at? Where was it?
It was in Colorado, yeah.
Oh, in Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I think that is kind of funny. That was he carrying a six-pack with him or something?
Well, I don't know, but I think we'd have to really get to know the guy. You'd have to look at his yard. You'd have to look at what kind of a job he did. And I think all of this has to come up in court. I mean, like, if it shows that he went through the wife's flower bed, throw the book at him. But if he did a nice job in the yard, he couldn't have been too bad.
Exactly. Well, if you're going to do something like that, just make sure you keep on the grass, I guess.
Hey, did you hear about the doctor that wants you and me and everybody else, never was the word used, to shake hands again, and all this doctor wants us to do is just have a fist pump, because this doctor claims that by handshaking, we are opening up the door for absolutely disastrous diseases to flow through our society.
Really?
Yeah. Just another thing to worry about. I thought I'd throw that at you this morning.
Yeah, really. Okay,
yeah.
Well, thank you.
I know you're happy about that. And then the other thing, have you stayed in any motels lately?
No, I haven't.
When was the last time you stayed in a motel? And was it clean, and had they done a good job with the maid staff?
Last time I stayed at a hotel. It was at the Shiloh in Salt Lake, and it was okay, except for our room was too warm.
Okay.
The AC didn't work.
Thanks for mentioning names, so I have the potentiality of getting sued. But anyhow, I honestly say this, and I want your response. I travel more than most, okay? And I have noticed over the last 10 years, I think that motels and hotels and their cleaning staffs have gone on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being very good, 1 being lousy. I think they're down below a 5, and I don't think anybody cares anymore.
I don't think, well, it all depends on the workforce and how well you treat your employees, I guess, is bottom line.
Well, okay, most are all minimum wage. Most are all possibly not with any incentives or whatever. Well, I've stayed in rooms where the trash baskets are still filled with the previous person's trash. I've stayed in rooms where they still had some dirty towels from the last resident of the room, or maybe some paper on the floor or whatever. I just don't think that a person... You've got to be very careful. And I think when it comes to touching things like television remotes or the bed covers or whatever, you know what? I'm almost tempted to take sanitizers and throw that stuff on the floor, the bed covers and everything, and do without, because it's not very clean.
Yeah, the Lysol, definitely, for sure. Usually when I, get a hotel stay, I always go through and check the room first. Just kind of give it a precursor once over. And if I'm satisfied with it, then I'm satisfied. If not, then I'm going down to the front desk.
Well, and as well you should, because we're spending, I think, enormous amounts of money, which they've raised the rates. Everybody raises rates. And you're lucky, I think, to find even a average room for less than $75 to $80 a night.
I think you're honestly right on that one. It's room rates are getting very, very expensive. Holy cow.
And at that rate, and if you're there for 2 or 3 days and you're looking at maybe, $240 and with the tax, right around $250 or more, much more, you should demand excellence in the rooms, and I agree with you. Check the room out. If it's not clean, if it doesn't meet your standards, either ask for a different room or get your money back or your deposit back, and adios, find another place to stay.
Amen. Or usually what I'll ask is, can you please send one of your maids up there and go through the room, and this is what's wrong, A, B, C, D, and then I will be polite enough to wait, but I want my room clean.
Yeah, and sometimes the maids come in, and I'll be working at the desk or something in the room and doing paperwork, and they'll basically put up clean towels. They will do minimal as far as cleaning the room, and they might ask you if they can vacuum, but normally it's just a boop, 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 right by the front door, and then they're out of there. That is not cleaning a room as far as I'm concerned.
No. Well, a long time ago, way back in the day, I used to actually clean hotel rooms, and so I was taught, there is a specific way that you go in and you clean the room, and you always make sure that everything is clean, is sanitized, and there's not a speck of dirt anywhere. And so I kind of expect that level of excellence when I go into a place, because I know what I'm looking for. I don't want any hair in the sink. I don't want any hair in the tub. I want, I want the toilet paper to be folded. I want the towels to be nice and clean, and yes, I will pull back the covers and check the sheets. I always do.
Well, I'm not going to mention the chain hotel I stayed at this last weekend, but I'll tell you what, you talk about room for improvement on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being very good, 1 being poor. They were lucky, in my opinion, to scratch a 3.
Really?
And it's a large chain, and I was not a happy camper. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that to you.
Okay, well, I will keep my eyes out.
Everybody should. When you're traveling this summer, honestly, that's my Zeb tip of the day. Demand excellence. I don't care how much the room is, that's irrelevant. When you rent a room at a hotel or a motel, you as the consumer demand excellence. You have it coming. You deserve it. Okay, let's not also forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best tire value promise in the industry. That's right, and the best tires for all your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, all of this and much, much more. Front end alignments, they are absolutely the best at that. Of course, the best in brake service. Shocks and struts, batteries, you name it, they can serve you. And they do. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and, of course, Randy on Overland and Burley, the best, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Whew, got to run. Monday morning, tomorrow, Tuesday, we've got a lot of things on the show, including my dear friend from Indianapolis, Dave Bigo, talking about the very, very insidious SEIU union, what they're doing with the fast food workers across America. Going to be interesting. Don't miss it. We'll start at 8:06, go to 11. Zeb at the Ranch. God bless. We'll see you then.